Hey, what's up, everybody? So before we jump into this infosode, I just wanted to get on here and say that there is some content in this infosode that could be seen as sensitive content to some listeners, specifically the use of shrooms in one of the stories shared by the guest. But I just wanted to make it clear that neither I nor my guest is advocating for the use of any type of shrooms or drugs of any nature. So just know that this is part of their story, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Career Insights 501. It's your host, Dr. Loso, and today we are going to be talking about a career being a nurse. And today I have with me a special guest, Jonathan Koo. And so welcome to the show, John.
Appreciate it.
You're
Appreciate
actually
it.
the first guest on the show. So
Hey, yeah. Cool, man. Cool.
So thanks for coming on to the show. I
Awesome.
guess we can start off by you telling us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I like to go when we first met, man. I met my boy at the gym here. He was dressing fly, and I think that's a cool story. I literally was like, bro, your shoes are fire. And we just connected through, social media, and we just kind of went from there. And I saw that you had a podcast, and I was like, hey, man, if you
Mm-hmm.
need a nurse, I'm a nurse. I think it would be interesting. I think people want to hear, things about nursing, and we kind of went from there. So I'm 34. I'm currently a nurse. I'm kind of pushing social media right now a little bit. I work in home health pediatrics, which we'll get into that during the interview. Um, yeah, that's, I guess, the basics since this interview is about career. So yeah, I'm in home health nursing. Oh, and then I just finished my master's in nursing, but I need to get my licensure for that. So we'll get into that. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. And yeah, this is just like an opportunity to tell like just who you are in general, so you don't have to like
Oh,
keep it
oh,
career
fair enough.
focused.
I got a lot to say. I actually want to share my story a lot. Then, okay, I'll get into the basics of why I think my story is important. Before nursing school, I kind of drifted. I don't know how else to put it. I played a bunch of video games at about the age of like, what was that, age 30 or 29, and I had no job. I ended up being suicidal, man, honestly, just being upfront,
Hmm.
because I just didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And that pushed me into getting to nursing school. But I basically had a crazy mushroom trip with my best friend around that time. And that's literally what got me to start just pushing towards something. And I think that's
Hmm.
really important because I feel like a lot of people give up. I mean, I could have gave up right there, but I said, you know what? I'm going to push towards something. It didn't matter what. And I just started from there. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll start from there.
Okay, so yeah, I remember you telling me that story like really briefly
hmm
in the gym, so I thought that was pretty interesting as far as
Yeah.
like your mushroom experience, and I guess you can go more into that into detail if you want to as we
Okay.
move on.
Yeah.
But first,
Sure.
if you would talk a little bit about, I guess, the educational aspect of nursing and kind of how that plays into the career field of nursing.
Okay. So right now I have my 4-year degree, which is also known as like a BSN. So I am a RN. That's a registered
Hmm.
nurse. I would say the current state of nursing right now, especially if you have your like just your associate's degree, which is just a 2-year nursing degree, you really can't get a good job. It's very low pay. It's just not really, they really push people to get their 4-year degree nowadays, at least. Again, that's your BSN RN license, which I currently have. I completed that from, I think in 2019, I had my BSN. I went to school at UTA, which is University of Texas at Arlington. I actually did the accelerated online program. So I already had a degree in exercise science, so I had a lot of the coursework already to go straight into like an accelerated program. It was a very
Hmm.
fast, intense program. So I got my degree in about a year and a half for nursing because
Oh
it
wow.
was pretty, it was intense. It was intense, but it was worth it, I think, because I'm older.
Hmm.
I'm
All
34, so I
right.
wasn't trying to go back to college and do all that. Does that make sense? So like, yeah,
Yeah.
I was trying to get shit done. And and it worked out.
Okay, that's I think interesting. So when I
Mm-hmm.
graduated high school in 2001, a lot of my friends were going into like nursing and like radiology and stuff like that. But most of them, I think, at the time were going for like the 2 year degree that you're talking about. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them went to community colleges around the
Mm-hmm.
area. So I think that's important for the listeners to know, because hopefully a lot of people from different age demographics will be listening to this, and maybe somebody who once thought about going to nursing and maybe
Okay.
trying to get back into that now
Here's
wouldn't have known that.
a good point on that, touching on that, because I think that is important to say. I guess for maybe a new listener, I would recommend getting your basics done at like a community college if money is an issue or income. I come from kind of a lower income family, but they basically put me to wherever I wanted to go to school because I was the only one to go to college in my family. So they were kind of all in with me. But I went straight to a big university for my first degree. My first degree was exercise science, and I finished that at like age like 23, but I kind of partied too hard. Kind of going back to initial, like why I would go to a community college to get your basics. I went straight to a big university and I kind of spent too much money on tuition and classes that I did not need to spend money on. Again, if you
Hmm.
have the income and the money, go to UTD, go to these big schools, go have your fun. They are good schools, but they cost a lot of money. So really, people really need to weigh that in that it's going to cost a lot of money, and I got to pay these school loans. So I mean, I still have to pay those off. So yeah. So I would
Yeah,
recommend community college for basics for sure, especially if income is any type of issue. It doesn't make a difference. You know, you get your basics and then you kind of go from there. So,
yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. I went to a community college for 1 year
hmm,
and got a lot of my basics out of the
yeah,
way,
that's
and
the
I
way
did
to
some
do
summer
it.
school. Yeah, to save the money.
Hmm.
Um, the university I went to at the time, it wasn't that expensive, but still,
Hmm.
I guess relative to inflation and cost of living now, it still
Hmm.
was kind of pricey. So I'm glad you called that out. That's a good point.
Hmm.
I guess so. Tell the listeners what the day to day of a nurse is. We read the job descriptions and they have all these things on the job descriptions, but when you actually get in there, is I guess with a lot of jobs that I've
Hmm.
had, is a lot different from
Okay. I
the
would
job
say
description.
if you do label this, I have a nursing job. I'm in home health pediatrics. I would say home health is different than hospital nursing, which most people think, or most people think
Okay.
about nursing. They think about nurse in the hospital, but I'll differentiate the two. So I work in home health with pediatrics, which just means kids. But typically, when you have patients in home health, you're thinking terminal care. You're thinking someone that has really, really tough illnesses that require a lot of help that the parents just cannot do on their own. I'm talking
Hmm.
like full bed baths, full care, a lot of medications, a lot of like, again, just a lot of uh, nursing care that can't be done, that needs to be done at home all day. It's like a 24, typically 24-hour care type scenario. So that's home health. So again, just kind of reiterating, in home health, we're dealing with more terminal or more serious illness patients in the home, and we're doing more full care, like more intimate, like again, full bed baths, still pushing medications. It really depends on the patient and what type of illness they have. But we literally almost do everything that they would do in a hospital. But I think most people in a hospital will understand that like those hospitals are horrible. You know, you don't want to sit in
Hmm.
a hospital for months, right? You want to be at home with your family and your just your loved ones. It's a big, big difference. So that's what I do in home health as a nurse. I guess most people know what a nurse does in the hospital, but if they don't, basically a nurse is the medication pusher. So the provider, which is the doctor or the mid-level, will write the prescription or write like, for example, you're going to get painkillers for your you broken arm. So they're going to give you some Norco, which is just a painkiller. The nurse is just going to go in and see the order from the doctor or the mid-level, and then they're going to, you know, give the order. They're going to give, or not, sorry, they're going to give the medication. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like listeners, like even me, I didn't know what nursing really was until I really started going to nursing school. I just really didn't. So that's important to like differentiate what a nurse does. We basically push the medications the providers write, and it is our job to kind of be the secondary guesser. This is
Hmm.
also important. People think doctors and mid levels don't make mistakes. 100% doctors and mid-levels are people. I really think people forget
Right.
that. Doctors make mistakes all the time, and nurses really
Hmm.
do catch it. We'll just, we'll look at an order and go, hey, doc, are you sure you want to push this much medication for this patient? And they'll go, oh, shit, you're right. Does that make sense? We're kind of like a safeguard, or a good nurse should
Right.
be. So that's
Okay.
that's also our job, is to kind of look over the orders and make sure there's nothing blatantly dangerous to the patient.
Nice, nice.
Mhm.
So were you always in did you start your career off in nursing as
I did.
home
So,
help?
so that was
Okay.
actually my first job. It was actually, yeah, the first job that responded to me. I'm kind of like a go with the flow type of guy.
Hmm.
It sounded like a decent job, and when I met the family, they were really cool with me. We meshed really well because in home health, a lot of it has to do with like, do you mesh well with the family? I immediately meshed
Mm.
really well with this family, and we just got along. And I also immediately went back into school for my master's. So initially, nurses trying to become a nurse practitioner have to wait 2 years of practicing before they can go into get their master's. But certain schools have now lifted that, including mine. So I decided to go straight into it. So home health nursing also typically has a little more downtime for, let's say, schoolwork. Like when my kid was asleep, I have all
Hmm.
this free time to do whatever I want, including schoolwork. So that's why I decided to also stay in home health for so long. So
Okay. So with the meshing with the family, is there some type of like interview process or trial period or?
good question. So initially, most companies will do what they call a meet and greet. They'll literally
Hmm.
set up, like I have one soon, just to meet a new family. They'll just pick any time the family is available. The nurse will come over and they'll just meet and greet, whether it be, just to ask questions, see the person, get introduced, and both parties will actually have to agree to pick up the case. So it goes both ways.
Okay.
Yeah, the nurse can deny the
Uh,
family, and the family can deny the nurse, but both parties have to agree after a meet and greet. Typically, that is the general rule, that a meet and greet
hmm.
happens, and then you pick up the case.
That's interesting. I didn't know that it was like a two-way street with that. So.
Oh, you'd be surprised. So a lot of family, it goes both ways. So you have bad nurses, right? That the families will be like,
Hmm.
I don't want you taking care of my child. But you'll also have family members, sadly, that will treat nurses, kind of bad. It like almost like slave work, and it's
Mm.
nobody wants to work like that. Sadly,
Right.
I've had maybe like a case like that, and I wasn't comfortable after being treated a certain way, and I just go, it's not for me. I don't want to be in a house and be treated. I want to be treated how I want to be treated, with respect. God forbid, respect, right? But
Right.
some
Right.
people,
Right.
as
Yeah.
you know, maybe they just don't like to give out that, so it happens. So yes, it goes both ways.
Yeah. So when you were in that situation, when you kind of had, I guess that negative treatment with the employer, how did you deal with that? Did you deal with it for a long time, or was it just something you kind of like noticed
No,
right
these
offhand?
companies are very aware that it goes both ways. Right when you tell the company, hey, I'm not comfortable with that, they're typically like, okay, there's so many open cases for home health now that it's not an issue. We actually have a very,
Uh,
very large shortage of nurses for home health care. It's pretty intense right now. Yeah. So
hmm.
it's an easy process of basically being like, I don't feel good with this family. And they're like, okay, let's find another one.
Would you say that increase in the need for home help has like COVID has been the cause for that, or are there some other factors that play
No.
into
So
that?
COVID is very, very minor when it comes to being a terminal illness. It's more like a cold right now. People really,
Hmm.
well, what I witnessed in the clinics, people really weren't going like into the ERs or the ICUs like the first wave, which was Delta. With that wave,
Mm,
a lot of people were struggling with oxygenation, and it was a lot more intense. We also were That was the first wave, so everyone was freaking out.
right, right,
Since
right.
then, COVID really hasn't played a huge part in home health. We still take our little precautions like most jobs do, right? But honestly, kind of
Mm-hmm,
gets in the way right now. I don't know if other people experience this, but like, God forbid, like when someone has like, oh, you tested positive for COVID, whoop de dang do right now, but then you have to like
mm-hmm.
isolate yourself for like 2 weeks, and you're like, dude, it's not life threatening right now. At least that's my opinion. It's really, you
Right.
know, not worth trying to
Yeah.
isolate yourself right now for 2 weeks over something that's not going to kill you. So,
Mm-hmm.
so COVID has not really played a huge part. It's more having those really big rare diseases, terminal illnesses, cancers, anything that just requires a lot more care and yeah, a lot more like just taking care of a patient that the parent can't do it on their own. They just can't, especially if they work. So
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it sounds like it might be like several factors, like I guess people picking up more, people who would probably be primary caregivers having to work more, or I guess maybe people shifting interests in careers or something like that. You have any idea? Like I know cybersecurity is like tech is a big thing that people are going into now. So
hmm
there's a big shortage with cybersecurity
yeah,
engineers here in America. Like, do you kind of like have an idea of why there's a shortage of home
yeah. I mean, a
help?
lot of it has to do with pay. So typically, I'm
Mm,
glad you asked that. So typically, a home health nurse gets paid less than, let's say, a hospital nurse right now, or like any nurse in like a regular staffing agency, whatever you want to call it. And so that's probably the biggest factor, at least for me, it is too, is the
okay.
pay. You typically don't give, at least in Dallas, I don't get shift differential, which means like if I work nights, they don't really give me like time and a half. Like every hospital would typically give you like time and a half. That's huge for working nights.
Hmm.
At least again in Dallas, they do not. And it just, so it actually, it goes both ways. It makes the nurses not really want to work, right? Because
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
you can go to a hospital, you might as well. My case is a little different. I prefer to be in home health because I'm working on other things plus school. So it really just was in my benefit. But in general,
Mm,
I really think it comes down to, yeah, pay. And, but the demand is so high that I'm hoping that that changes because, since hospitals, we're really shifting a lot of the care into like home health, like the demand for home health is increasing dramatically. And so I hope,
hmm.
yeah, I hope in the future that just pay increases and things get better. A lot of these home health agencies are kind of new because the demand went up so high. So if you think about it, what happens with new companies? They're still working out the kinks. They're still working out pay. They're
Yeah.
still working out shift diff. Hopefully that changes in the future for future home health nurses. So
Mm, okay. So were you in the medical field before you got into nursing?
um, so long story short, I drifted after for a few years jobless, but I ended up scribing, which is just like medical documentations for a doctor at the hospital my ex-girlfriend was a nurse at. So I had a background in the fact that I kind of was around it because I was doing the
Hmm.
documentation for doctors. Typically, scribes are pre-med. I just did it because I needed a job. So that was kind of my only background. Oh, my first degree was exercise science. Like, I guess it's kind of health related ish, but
Hmm.
not necessarily a hospital, right?
Right.
Yeah, more like trainer and stuff like that, like personal
Right. Right.
trainer. So that was my background.
Okay.
hmm
Cool. Cool. So that leads me to, I guess, wanting to ask you more about how did you make that transition into nursing? I know you had mentioned
hmm
it briefly at the beginning about your story. Did you want to elaborate on that
Yeah, I probably
anymore?
should.
Or?
Yeah, I do. It's just such a long story, but then no, this is perfect to do it. I probably should have wrote some notes,
Yeah.
but let me take it back. All right. Uh, long story ish short, got out of high school. I initially went to the University of Mississippi. That's where I'm from. And I went there for,
Ooh,
yeah, Ole Miss.
I'm a Mississippi State
Yeah.
guy.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right. I can't make that
Yep.
shit
You know,
up,
we both.
bro. Like, oh my God, that's crazy. All right.
So all my friends from state are gonna be booing you when they
It's
hear
okay.
this.
It's okay. I still show them love. For people that don't know, Ole Miss and Mississippi State are rival schools in Mississippi, and it's just a little fun. I went and partied in
Yeah.
Mississippi State, but I'm gonna tell you right now, from my opinion, parties were better at Ole Miss. I'm just saying it, man.
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
calling it out,
I heard
bro.
that Ole Miss was more of a party school. So yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, verified because I almost failed I partied so hard at Ole Miss that I literally left. So when I left Ole Miss, I went down to University of Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg. And that's where I ended up, God, thank God, finally finishing school because I stopped partying and I got my degree
Hmm.
in exercise science in 2000 and God, when was that? 2012? So about
Okay.
2012. Um,
Yeah, my brother and sister went down there.
Yeah. Now I tried basically right at 2012. I didn't necessarily find a job with exercise science because I don't know. I didn't really know the path to finding a decent job other than like going to a gym and being a personal trainer. Like I just didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to
Hmm.
find a good job. I didn't know there wasn't like an internship transition with my degree. I just got it and was like, okay, what now? So I decided to kind of it. I was like, oh, maybe I want to be a chiropractor. So in 2012, after finally finishing my first degree, I was like, I want to try to be a chiropractor. That sounds good. It sounds like a decent job. And that's what made me move into Dallas in 2012 was literally because they had a big chiropractor school, Parker. So most people from Dallas know about Parker Chiropractic School of, yeah, chiropractic. And so that was 2012. When I came out here, it got me to move out here in Dallas, but I think I went there for about a year and a half, but and I can't make this up. I got into the clinical portion of the chiropractic side, and I honestly just did not see myself doing it. I just wasn't happy
Hmm.
adjusting patients. I felt like there was a little bit of juju, which I don't like when it comes to medicine. Like, if we're spreading a little bit of juju, like, let's separate health and juju, right? I don't know. Sometimes we would go to these like seminars, and if,
So what do you mean by
yeah, let me
juju?
elaborate. I can't make this shit up. So this is what happened. This is the day I left chiropractic school. I was in a class and we had some tool. So, okay, background. Chiropractors adjust misalignments in your spine, also known as subluxations. Okay. So I was in a class and they were like, use this tool to find the misalignment in your back. And when I was like, how does that work? I literally asked the instructor, how does this tool find the misalignment in the back? When I tell you that instructor gave me like a 30-minute runaround of the question without giving me an answer, I literally was like, I can't do, because I don't like bullshitting. I'm a very upfront
Right.
person. When I tell you, that's what I mean by juju. He was almost like, you need to believe that it's there. And I'm like, no, I need you to tell me why that tool can actually identify said problem. Like, I'm not going to just, yeah. And
Gotcha.
I felt like at that moment, even a lot of the students were just agreeing with the teacher. And that's why I meant like, it was like juju. It was like, dude, are y'all kidding me right now? Like,
Hmm.
this guy just gave me like a full runaround. That wasn't even an answer. So and we would have these weekly seminars that kind of felt very churchy. Again, I have nothing wrong with church. Don't cancel me. Um, it just, I don't like, that I don't like mixing healthcare with that aspect. That's all. And it felt
Yeah.
like they were crossing that line. Um, and that's it. I have a lot of chiropractor friends that I'm very good with. I still believe in chiropractic. I just think sometimes that holistic health and I call it juju. It's kind of like a belief system, and I just think
Hmm.
that line got crossed there. So I didn't see myself doing that.
Gotcha.
So that was so I quit maybe like 2000, like 14 or 15, something like that. I went there for like
Hmm.
2 years, and this is when I drifted. So I left school. I think I tried personal training at my gym, which went okay. I just also didn't love it. It didn't make good money. I ended up just kind of hating it because, so again, I tried personal training with my exercise science degree, but it didn't make good money. And I felt like I just didn't love it. Personal training is very, I don't know, unless I trained athletes, I felt like I was just listening to people's like divorce problem. It just felt very like I didn't love it. I kind of hated it, and the pay was horrible. At least at the gym I was at.
Mm,
Um, so after I left personal training, man, when I tell you, that's when I just kind of drifted. I started playing just a bunch of freaking video games all day. I was drinking a bunch of alcohol. I got really overweight. That's another background story of mine. I used to weigh over 260 pounds at this point because I just started drinking and just didn't have a job. I was just coping with food and just, yeah, just kind of being a loser, just being upfront. I didn't know what to do with my life. And at the time, my ex, who was a nurse, was supporting us, financially. She was
mm,
just, she did it, and I appreciate her doing that. But I also was like, she was also enabling my behavior. But again, all on me. I should have manned up right there and, figured my shit out. But I didn't. I
mm-hmm.
didn't figure my shit out until so basically during this time I got real fat. I was blasting alcohol, I was playing video games all goddamn day, every day. But it wasn't until I did shrooms with my best friend Scott, and that was my first time ever doing shrooms. And when I say I had a bad trip, it was like the worst trip of my life. In the fact that when I did these shrooms and had like an out of body experience, it really just made me see, like, I went into the bathroom and freaked out, and my body basically told me, hey, like, what are you doing with your life? You are doing absolutely nothing. You're a loser. You're going to die. And I can't make this shit up. I was suicidal there. I was thinking about ending my life because I just wasn't doing anything with my life. And I was kind of avoiding it with the video games and the alcohol. But when I tell you those fucking shrooms were like, sorry, can I cuss? I don't, sorry. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'll try not to, but, um, those shrooms, man, that trip really, man, that was an eye opener because it was like, hey, dude, you are doing wrong. You're going to die. I didn't know how else to put it. I literally was thinking about ending my life. But that was the day. And when I tell you, you got two choices when something like that in your life happens. You either lay down and die or you push back. I always say you push back. And I decided to that was the day I literally applied to some random school to just start taking. Oh no, I applied to a random nursing school because I said I just have to start the process, start towards something. So I literally picked a nursing school. I
Mm-hmm.
just Googled it. I was like, nursing school in Dallas. What are my choices? And I was like, what courses do I need? What courses do I already have? And it was just baby steps, if that makes sense. I was like, oh, I need to take history 1 and 2. So long story short, once I just looked at a school, I looked at the requirements. I actually had most or a lot of the main courses from my exercise science degree that covered, like organic chemistry 1 and 2 and yada, yada, yada. I just needed to take small
Mm-hmm.
classes like history 1 and 2 and some like basic math class or something. But I mean, I was like, okay, this is actually a direction. And so I got like a small job. God, my worst job. This is my worst job ever. At the time, I was just taking like those history classes I was just talking about. And I went to this
Mm-hmm.
like small hotel cafe that they labeled it as a Starbucks, but it was not a Starbucks. And when I tell you, as a barista, that was the worst job I've ever had. Oh my God. You would just have like hundreds of people looking for their specific Starbucks coffee, like upside down macchiato, 48 degrees. Like, it's like, dude, we're not Starbucks, but like they kept trying to say we're Starbucks. It was horrible. But I worked
Mm-hmm.
there. One second. I worked at that cafe to A, get some income, and B, take those courses towards nursing school. And then it only took me like less than a year to get those courses. And I had to take some like entry level, some little standardized test, but it got me to apply to nursing school and I got in. I got in the nursing school and that's what got me in that AO program. All because of some mushrooms with my best friend. Straight up, man. Can't make it up. It's true. So
That's what's up. I'm glad you were able to pull through all of that though, because like I said, that
yeah,
was a lot.
yeah,
And like you say, it's two choices, and sometimes people can't really help pull themselves up out of the dark
yeah.
space.
Here's some
So
good advice. No, seriously,
big
because
ups
I
on
feel
that.
like I have a lot of friends right now that are in the same slump. Like if you're hearing this and you're in a
Hmm.
slump, again, you got two choices. You lay down and die or you put the work in. You have to put the work in. You can't blame your dad, you can't blame your spouse, your ex. You can blame the world all day, but at the end of the day, you either do the work or you don't. It's that simple. And I feel like a lot of people, it's so much easier to blame their trauma, their daddy issues, hell, even me with my ex. It's easier, but at the end of the day, who's going to do the work? You have to. It's very
Hmm.
important to say that, they have to put in the work.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I've known people who've talked about being depressed,
hmm
and I see a lot of stuff online when people post saying that like you don't really understand it
hmm
unless you've been depressed before. So, like, what were some things that you did to kind of like help pull yourself out of that spot? I know you talked
hmm
about it a little, but are there some more suggestions
oh, of
that
course.
like in general that
I
you
would
can?
say I'm like an expert at it now because, God, this is another chapter in my life. So, right now, I literally just went through a 15-year heartbreak with my sweetheart, and I got hurt really bad. And when I say that was the worst depression of my life, actually happened about 4 months ago or 5 months ago. When I say I was a broken man, I was a broken man. But what I did was I think what everyone should do. Again, I had two choices: lay down and die, or push back and do something about it. So the first thing I did was make sure I had a job and I kept working. So you have to have, what I tell people is if they're depressed, you have to have like a system. You can't sit there and stop texting me, Julia. Jesus. Um, Not maybe. So I'm sorry. I have ADD, and so when people text me and stuff, I'm everywhere in my brain. So let me go back. First things first. Have a job. It doesn't matter what job. So if you're depressed right now, first things first, I tell people get income of some type. And I'm not trying to hate, but like you can work at McDonald's, you can work at Domino's, you can do Uber driving. The point of it is to get you out of the house and then have some type of income to start. And I really think some people don't even get to that step. They're already thinking, oh, this job's not good. It doesn't matter because right now, most of the people in that position don't have a job. So first things first, I would say is
Hmm.
get a job. Second thing, at least for me, was I was blasting alcohol. So I know a lot of people cope with either alcohol or drugs. I would say if you're doing alcohol or drugs, guess what? Man up and stop it. It's up to you. You can sit here and make excuses all day. I decided to, stop drinking alcohol at the time. And it was very hard because, it's easier to cope with substances. So I would say quit drinking and quit abusing or quit doing coping mechanisms, mainly alcohol and drugs. That's step two. And then step three, exercise. For me, I started exercising again, and it doesn't matter what you do. When I was over 260 pounds, I literally would walk for 5, 10 minutes a day before I was like exhausted. But I was like,
Hmm.
the difference is I did it once I started doing it every day. It was a matter of consistency. I'm a very big fan of just small consistencies will always beat me doing some crazy 5 hour workout. I would rather you walk 10 minutes a day and be consistent about it because that's all you need to do.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, reiteration. Get a job, stop abusing substances for coping, physical exercise, and then I guess the fourth one is have a direction. Mine, I picked nursing school, and in my head, I said, That's my direction. Whatever I need to do, that is my path, and you're going to work towards it. It doesn't matter if you fail or not. I was going to try these courses. I was going to apply to these schools. As long as I was trying towards it, that was my goal. So I would say that's like my principles for like getting out of depression are those things is, get a job initially. Doesn't matter. Steady income. Stop abusing with alcohol and drugs. Oh God, here's my ADD. What was my third one? Physical exercise, and then pick a direction and go towards it. Like actually go towards it. So many people are so scared to try because they may fail. You may apply to school and fail, right? What does that mean? You just apply to another school. I just feel like so many people are
Mm-hmm.
so scared of rejection. It's insane. Like just try. I promise you, even if you try, another door will open. Honestly. So
Right.
that's my advice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I wanted to
hmm
ask though, so for number two, like replacing the coping
hmm
mechanism, would you say that you replaced it with something else, or you just kind of like learned
Well,
to
that's a
let it
good
go?
question. Well, for me personally, I think I basically replaced it with exercise.
Hmm.
At least for me, I mean, you can replace it. It can be anything. You could pick cooking. You could pick again swimming. You could pick God, hanging out with your actual kids, playing with your dogs. Like it literally can be anything. Mine personally, because I just love fitness. That was mine. Weight training. Weight training. I think I replaced maybe my substance use, which I still struggle with substance use, man. Just being upfront. People forget
Mm-hmm.
like we're humans, bro. I make mistakes, but
All right.
yeah, I would say I replaced it with a different type of passion or coping, which for me is exercise. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. And going back into, the whole thing about cursing is going to kind of like segue into the next question
sure.
that I have. But, and just for anybody out here listening or future guests, like, the reason that I started this whole thing is to be authentic, because I know I struggle with corporate America because you have to be so policed in what you say and what you do. So I don't want this to be political, like when it comes to like voting and
Yep.
politics and all that. But as far as policing guests on here when they come, I just want them to be their authentic selves. So if people can't get the message because of curse words, then they can go listen to somebody else's
Thank you for saying
podcast.
that because
But
yeah, I get it. Once you got, so I'm gonna try to promote
yeah,
my social media here. Anybody knows that sees my social media, I am what they call a troll. I just like goofing around, and if anybody's gonna get canceled, it's probably this guy right here because I'm just like joking around, and people, man, that's another teaching point right now. People, if y'all can hear me, stop being so uptight. Life is a joke, or life just can be fun, and so people
hmm
tend to just get offended so easily, and it's like, bro, just relax. Just we're just having
yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
Can you just listen for maybe a few more minutes? And like you said, I find it so weird. If you hear something you don't like, why don't you turn the channel? Why do you need to keep? Why do you feel inclined to attack?
yeah,
That's all. I appreciate you
yeah.
saying that, though. I think that's a good point to just tell people. Like, if you don't enjoy it or if you find something offensive, there's other channels, buddy. You'll be all right.
Yeah, I've reached the Janet Jackson stage in my life. I need control. So I, but so going back to communication, how big of I guess a soft skill is that in nursing?
And
And
I would say communicate. So I
excuse
think
me.
I'm a very good communicator. And when I say it'll help you tremendously in any job, it will. Whether it be dealing, because you're always going to have to deal with coworkers, you're always going to have to deal with bosses, you're going to have to deal with, God, you're just going to have to communicate every day. I would say it's a very, very big factor because you also got to think about when you negotiate your pay, you're communicating. A lot of people,
Mm,
including myself, I only learned in the last few years to negotiate my pay. And that's because I come from a
mm-hmm,
lower income family. I call this my first big boy job. It's a job where I actually make good
mm-hmm,
money and have to argue for a decent pay. I just never had to do it before because again, I was working at like the little cafe that pays nothing. So I actually, while I'm good at communicating, I had to learn how to communicate specifically about like salary pay. It's very important because guess what? If you don't ask,
Hmm.
guess who doesn't get more pay? They're not going to pay you anymore. They're not. It's a very,
Right,
very good
right.
point.
Yeah.
Well, touching on that, you need to learn your base pay, especially as a nurse, like ish, a ballpark of your companies that you're applying at. And if they're not even close to it, call them out on it. Just be upfront. I'm all about being upfront because once I started being upfront with pay and just other aspects of my life, I got paid so much more because I just be like, hi, I want this rate and I think I deserve this rate and why. Because like for me, it was just
Yeah.
straight up like, hey, most of these nurses are getting paid this much. I deserve this much. And guess what? My pay increased tremendously just for me being like, I
Hmm.
want more money. But if you don't ask, they don't give it. It's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to agree with you on
Mm-hmm.
that. So that's something even for me recently, just like negotiating and learning how to do
Mm-hmm.
that with a salary, because I typically just go into a job and I'm so
Yeah.
thankful that I
Yeah.
got the job. And like you coming from like, well, I would say lower middle
Mm-hmm.
class family, in like, growing up, um, like the type of money that I was getting out of college, I never really knew anybody to be making that type of money, which, really wasn't that much, but
Yeah, but still.
all things considered, but
Mm-hmm.
still, I was just like, oh, okay, I'm making like fifty,
Yeah.
$60,000, and so I was just like, that's good for me. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
to negotiate. I'll just take this. But like you were saying, you wanted this amount of money because they're going to want like this standard of work for you. So when you're going in there and you're underselling yourself and you're just taking
Mm-hmm.
whatever, it's kind of like you're,
Well,
doing more
it's
work
true.
than
No,
you
I'll
should be
use
doing. Because,
myself as an
yeah.
example. Oh, by the way, I don't want to list my last company I worked for. We'll just block that out. But long story short, a company that I worked for was underpaying me for a few years, and I didn't notice until I learned from some coworkers how much they were getting paid, and I was just like, "Wait, what? You're getting?" So long story short, I was getting undercut really bad. When I say I was their best nurse for this company, I was by far, I think, I mean, I'm gonna toot my own horn, but I think I was the most experienced one there. And I had my 4 year degree, which matters. You get paid more when you have a 4 year degree in nursing as opposed to an associate's degree. But it
Hmm.
wasn't until I learned how much I was getting paid and I had to fight for it. I literally had to call the company and be like, hey, what the heck? Like, I'm getting paid how much? And I think I need this much. And when I say my pay went through the roof, it's just because I asked, and those companies are going to keep quiet because why wouldn't they? They're going to pay someone as experienced as me that amount of pay. It's a full win for them. That's free money. It's free. Or like, they make money off
Hmm.
that or save money.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just say my advice to especially new young career whatever your new career is, you need to learn what your ballpark pay is in general for the career you're in, and you need to ask at least yearly or get an idea of how much you should get paid and fight for it. You literally need to call and be like, "Hi, we need to at least discuss pay. I want to discuss it." I think a
Hmm.
lot of people are just scared, you know, to even make that phone call. And it was weird. It was weird for me. I only
Yeah.
did it in the past, again, last few years, but it was a learning experience for me that I hope I can help younger people do that. You know what I mean? Like start younger because you're only going to go up from there, hopefully. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully. Um, so what would you say? I didn't do any research because I didn't
Hmm.
know this specific type of nurse that you were, but what would you say is the average starting salary for a home health
Ooh,
nurse?
no, that's a little rough one.
Or should we look it up on
Well, yeah,
salary.com?
let's just like this is a good example. Let's just be like Dallas home health nurse base pay rate. Things are a little weird. Let's see. I want to say probably around that sounds about right. So this just looking up the salary rate says 73 to 93,000 a year, which is about 28 to like $35 hourly ish. if that makes sense. I would say that sounds about right.
Hmm.
Entry level home health nurse would start around higher 20 something dollars an hour, depending on your experience, if you have your RN or not. And then go upwards towards about like $40. I think the upwards end for most of the agencies here are around $40 an hour for home health currently at like just current date. That's
Hmm.
kind of the higher end. Um, does that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the occupational outlook handbook, and going back to your point you
Mm,
made earlier about there being a shortage. They said that the job outlook from 2021 to 2031 is 25%, and that's much faster than other
hmm.
industries out there or jobs out there. And they said the employment change from 2021 to 2031 is estimated to be 924,000. So almost 1 million more
Yeah.
people in the industry
This is
that
a very, very
they
fast
will.
growing industry. Again, home
Hmm.
health is kind of new, at least the what if you look at it from a healthcare standard. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes, but the demand is very, very high. Like I had there's it's kind of almost sad. It makes me I'm a very empathetic person, so just me knowing how many cases are open right now, it's very easy for me to find like work with any of these home health agencies. And just knowing that kind of sucks because you also know that a lot of these families need help. They don't have
Hmm.
nurses. They literally are fighting for nurses. But nurses they need to get paid more, that's for sure. And these companies, they have a lot of kinks to work out. If you really think about it, you're working from a home, so there is a lot of like gray area, right? When it comes to just care in someone's house, rules, and they're still working that shit out. I
Hmm.
mean, it's the truth. It's a learning experience. But I mean, I think pay is the biggest one, dude. Just pay them, bro. Like at least I don't get why they don't pay shift differential. It's very odd that they don't pay that, you know? Like
Yeah, yeah,
they're probably the only
yeah. That is.
nursing I think it's the only type of nursing that doesn't offer shift diff. Like swear to God, I think yeah, it's weird. Like why?
Mm,
So
yeah, yeah. I know people who work in manufacturing. They get shift differential
everybody does,
pay.
bro.
So
It's literally, I don't
yeah.
know. So I don't get it. Hopefully that changes. That would be my wish for nursing. Yeah, shift diff for sure would be a big one.
So let me ask you this question: what resources are there available for nurses, like as far as career development outside? Like once you become, I
Mm.
guess, seasoned in the
Oh,
profession,
okay.
you don't need to obtain any
Oh,
more
that's a
college
good one.
degrees.
So basically, you can specialize. So if you're going to stay a nurse, you can specialize in wound care. You can specialize in, and that would just mean you would take typically like a course or a certification on the side. Some companies will pay for it if you're working for like a hospital, and
Hmm.
some you need to pay out of your pocket. And so, like, let's say you get certified in like a specific tool for wound care, you would have that under your belt. You'd be like, I'm a wound care nurse that can use this tool. So that would be your
Hmm.
direction to pursue something more specific after nursing. And then the other route is the route I went if you want to become a nurse practitioner, which is getting your master's in nursing, and then you specialize from there. I mean, it's 3 more years of school, but you become a nurse practitioner, which is basically like a PA, like a physician assistant. You're a mid level. You're like one
Okay.
notch under a
Okay.
doctor, pretty much.
Okay. So two questions
Hmm.
based off of that. The first one, and well, before I ask those two questions, is I'm glad you mentioned the certification because I work
Hmm.
in tech, and typically I think when people think about certifications, they only think about it being something
Hmm.
that you can obtain in something that's like computer tech. So, well, I guess we hear about
It is the
nursing
same.
technicians,
It's
but I
the
don't
same
think that
idea, though,
people,
right? You work on a certification. You got
right?
that under your belt. It just kind of labels it under your resume, and it kind of puts you in a different,
Hmm.
whatever job you want to go towards.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. Um, so God, what was I gonna
Uh,
say? Oh, what are the different types of nurses? So I know you had mentioned those like LPN, I think
mm-hmm.
RN, and physicians. So could you like talk about that a little
I
bit?
mean, well, that one's just real basic. Basically, you have your 2 year nurses and then you have your 4 year nurses. That's it. You basically your associates is like an LPN. Off the top of my head, I don't know what it stands for, but that's your 2 year nurse. Like your associate's degree nurse is
Okay.
typically labeled as a LPN. And right now,
I think it's a licensed nurse practitioner. Licensed nurse
well, I'll let
practitioner.
the viewers just Google it.
It's like,
Google it, okay? That's a LPN, and honestly, the pay rate's just kind of low. Most hospitals will push you to get your BSN, which is your bachelor's in science and nursing, which that makes you an RN. So your 4 year will make you an RN, a registered nurse, which is kind of like I really think that's like the bare minimum nowadays. Even if you just have your associates, most companies are going to really push you, and I think you should because you get paid so much more. If you stay in LPN, you don't get paid anything. I think it's really, and it's the same job essentially ish.
hmm
There's a little gray area, but in general, I think RN is the way to go, which is your 4 year. So again, 2 year LPN or associates, 4 year, which is BSN, and you become an RN. That's basically it between the two, and then you specialize according to wherever you want to work, or if you want to do certifications and that and whatnot. But yeah, you stay an RN or you stay at LPN.
Okay. And are there any type of professional organizations or conferences like that go on
hmm
annually that you know of
I
that
think
people can
there's
attend?
two big nursing organizations. I mean, I'm just being upfront. I never joined them. They do cost like a yearly
hmm
fee. They keep you up to date on like nursing news and topics. I mean, I literally could probably Google it right now. Nursing organizations. I think there's like two big ones that they labeled us in school. Yeah, so you have the ANA, which is the American Nurses Association, and then you have the what was the other big one? What's this one right here? Basically, that's just a good example. The ANA is American Nurses
Right.
Association. You basically pay a fee for it. It keeps you in the loop with the news and different. I think you can pursue certifications through it. It's just good to join if you are
Mm,
going to. No, actually, yeah, it's just good in general for nurses. But personally, I just never joined them
hmm
because I knew I was going to go the nurse practitioner route. So it was kind of like, why would I?
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah. And could you briefly talk about, I guess, maybe some of your trials and successes as a nurse, like some things that you struggled with, or maybe don't necessarily like about the field, and some things that you love about it. I know you talked about like helping
Yeah,
people.
well,
Um,
okay, so nursing, I'm just going to give people a heads up. Nursing school, big, big, big one is it is so different than actual nursing. So when I say this, you are going to learn
mm,
everything you're going to learn as a nurse through your job. Nursing school, sadly, right now, a lot of people get frustrated because they're like, it's not very practical the way they teach it. At least my school, like a lot of the
hmm
stuff was useless. Like let me get into specifics, like nursing philosophy or I don't know, research in nursing to a certain degree, it wasn't practical. I'm a very practical person. So when I actually started doing nursing care and having patients, all that crap or all this information you learned in school was not practical. You will learn it on the job. You will learn how to do IVs on the job. You will learn how to bathe a patient on the job. You can read about bathing a patient all day. You really can, but they do a very poor job. And it's very hard to kind of explain how to do that. You know, like I guess they have to be politically
hmm
correct too. But my biggest thing is I made a lot of mistakes because in my head I was like, oh, I know how to do this, right? I know how to like bathe the
hmm
patient, start an IV, but it wasn't until I got on the job and I was like, holy crap, that is so different when you actually have patience. So I would say have
hmm
patience to have patience. Don't get frustrated in school because some
mm,
people are like, oh my God, this is weird. Just know once you actually start having your first nursing job, you're going to start learning so much more than school will ever teach you. So basically, get your license first. That's your priority. I don't care how you get the dang license because nobody cares where you got your license. As long as you have your nursing license number, you can get a job. And then you go from there. You're going to learn everything you need to know through the practical side of nursing. Did I answer your question? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was great. So, what are some of the things that you most like about like being a home health care nurse? Or do you have any stories about like you getting some type of recognition
Um,
or making some type of
well,
improvement or
first
something
things
like that?
first, home health is cool because you work typically if you have a long case. I grew very close with the family. I'm going to keep things private, for privacy's sake. I
Right.
got very close with the family, and when you're working with typically their kids, I hope you want a good relationship with these people. And they treated me like family and I treated them like family. So when I say that is one of the most rewarding things is having a very, very good relationship with the family and patient. You don't typically find that in hospital nurses. A lot of hospital nursing, you see one patient for an hour or whatever. You don't see them ever again. You develop no relationship with them. Yeah, you have absolutely no connection with them. In home health, you're like hanging out with their dogs. You are in their house. There is no other way to explain it. You are
Yeah.
literally either part of their family or not. And it really depends on how you treat them and how they treat you. That's how I said it's very important for you to mesh well or it's not going to work out.
It's interesting. So like spending a long time on a job like that or with a
Hmm.
family like that, do you feel like you're going home sometimes when you go to their house, or does it still just comes off as work to you?
Me personally,
Because it seems like you would be so
it
familiar.
was a mix. I would say for me personally, it still felt like work. I like to keep things
Hmm.
professional, even though when people see my social media, they're going to see like I am a big troll. I keep it very professional when it comes to my career, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I separate it.
Hmm.
I'm a very big jokester. I'm a very big troll. But when it comes to my nursing career, I get very serious. I literally, yeah, I turn, I call it, again, this is a joke. Don't cancel me. I call it my white people voice. So no, seriously, like when I negotiate for my money, you know what I
I
mean?
know. I
Yeah,
get
you
it.
literally turn on. Didn't they have a
Yeah, I
movie on
get it
that
for
shit?
sure.
Didn't they?
Code switching. Oh, that's not the movie, but
Yeah,
that's what we call it in
yeah,
the black
yeah.
community,
That well,
code
that's
switching.
I never had a. I call it white people voice. You just got to turn on the way you dress. I'm just saying, bro. I can't make that shit up. The way you dress, the way you talk, I can turn it
Oh
on, bro.
yeah, like your
Yeah, yeah. The
outfit,
white people outfit,
your
man.
white, your white.
I can't make that shit up. I wear that and I turn on my white people voice. I keep it professional. I'm kind of a different animal when it comes to my nursing career. But outside of that, at the
Hmm.
gym, my social media, I'm just a jokester. So, but I know I have to keep it professional when it comes to my career because that's my money, that's my income. So I turn, yeah. So
Right.
yeah. So funny. I feel like
So
listeners need to know the difference on that, guys. You need to be able to turn on your white people voice, which is just basically be professional and you got to just turn off, I don't know, code switching, I guess you said. Yeah.
yeah, that's what we call the code switching, because you have to switch over into like on a simulated type of version of
Yeah, fair
yourself.
enough, dude. I mean, just keep it
Um,
professional is all. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Um, I guess switching over into more of, I guess, a
Hmm.
casual type of part of the
Sure.
interview. What is one of the craziest interview questions that you've ever been asked,
Oh.
or have you had any?
My social media asks me, I do this thing where I post up like they can ask me anything. So honestly, nothing surprises me. I am probably one of the most open people when it comes to like
Mm.
transparency. I, I really, I really don't have an answer to that. What's the craziest thing they've ever asked me? Because they have asked me like everything on my social media, bro. Like everything, man. Everything you can think of.
Oh, no! I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was talking about more along like a job interview.
Oh,
Like, have you had a crazy interview question or a hard
hard
interview
interview.
question, or is there a question that you don't like to answer?
Ooh,
Like, I hate the "tell me about yourself"
gotcha.
question because
Um, ooh. This is important. Thanks for bringing that up. If you work or if you try to apply as a nurse to any big hospital organization, they will typically try to make sure that you know their vision. And typically every big hospital is
mm,
like church related and they have a vision, they have a
oh,
quote, they have like I literally, you need to look up that organization because I'm gonna say it. I applied at one Baylor and they asked me what like do I align with their vision and how. Well, first of all, I didn't know their vision because I was dumb enough not to look it up, and I was like, they caught me on that one. So I would say the biggest one
Mm-hmm.
is know your hospital because most of these people listening about nursing are going to look for a hospital job. Know your hospital's vision and know it well enough to where you can answer a question on it because they probably will ask you and how you align with that vision. That one caught me off guard. Yeah, very good one actually. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, and I guess you pretty much already talked about this one, the trajectory of a nurse. So I think you started the LPN, the RN, and the physician's assistant. Was
Nurse
that the third?
practitioner would be the third one. Yeah.
Nurse practitioner. Okay. Cool,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Any self-care practices that you take part in that you could recommend to other people?
Man, so especially in nursing, at least for especially male nurses, we are always the person they're going to ask to move and lift patients. So when I tell you being
Mm,
physically fit and knowing good body mechanics will save your life, I can't tell you how many of my nursing friends have been out for weeks because they pulled their back. Weeks. And I'm talking maybe at least 30% of my nursing friends have at one point just been like, I pulled my back. I'm literally out of work for like months or weeks. And so I would say self-care wise is no good body mechanics. They teach it in school, but I feel like nobody listens to it because nobody really cares. It's so important to have good body mechanics and be physically fit as best you can. I'm not telling you to be jacked, but like you're going to have to move
hmm.
patients. You are. So, yeah.
Now, John, you're gonna have millions of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
listening to you all around the
yeah, bro.
world. So, could you explain to the audience what body mechanics
Oh, I'm sorry.
is?
Yeah, no, it's important. So let's see, if somebody was listening to this, let's say I was going to pick up a patient from a bed. That's probably the most
Hmm.
practical for a nurse. You would not keep your back and your body in a way that you would increase your chance of injury. For example, good body
Hmm.
mechanics is having your back very close to the patient and not very far away. What that means is, oh
Mm,
wait, can they see me? This would be, well, think about when you're lifting up a weight at the gym. If you want it to be stable, you would lift it closer to your body, or basically your spine is the biggest factor in lifting things in nursing. So when you lift a patient, I don't know if they can see that, but like you wouldn't lift it out here. You would pull it in near your spine,
hmm.
and that's considered good body mechanics. It's the same thing like working out. You would never arm curl without having spine stability and having your arm out like this. You would keep it close and have good, I guess, good range, like not range of motion, but a good body mechanic. That literally is the definition of it. Good body mechanics is keeping things stable and doing the correct movement so you don't increase your chance of injury.
Gotcha, gotcha. And yeah, they can see. You can see all
Fair
that.
enough then. Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey guys, this is Jonathan Koo, and you're listening to Career Insights 501 with Dr. Loso. Shee!
Okay, so we're gonna get into a bit of little game
Sure.
here. Would you rather,
Okay.
or I mean, I'm sorry, this or that? I would ask you Lululemon or Nike, but
Oh,
I already know
yeah,
what you're gonna say.
okay.
The answer would be
Yeah, it would be. I'm
Lululemon.
kind of a basic bitch. So. That shit look clean, bro.
It does, yeah. I can't lie, it does. Skittles or
Ooh,
M and
Skittles
M's?
all day, baby. Skittles all day.
Okay. Morning shower or evening
Ooh.
shower?
Evening shower. No reason why. That was a weird one.
Zombie or
Oh,
vampire?
zombies all day, baby. I love zombies. Love me some zombies.
Okay. High IQ or photographic memory?
Uh-oh, you're cutting out. I think you said high IQ or photogenic. I'm gonna go with
photographic
Oh
memory.
shit. Shit. I like photographic memory. I feel like it's more practical. So I'm going photographic memory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Austin or Houston?
Ooh. Oh shit. You Oh, that's so hard. Houston for food. Fuck. That's a hard one. Yeah, Houston for food, I guess.
And this last one is
Oh,
ketchup or
ketchup all
mustard?
day, dude. Mustard's I am team man, look at that. I can't make this shit up. Look at that. I can't make this shit up. Team Heinz, baby. Literally right here all day, baby. Check it. Sponsor me, bro.
I have not seen you use that on any of your
Bro,
meals
it's
on
oh
IG, so I
man.
don't. You must be eating that by the
I'm gonna
spoonful. I
eat,
don't know,
bro.
like
I
peanut
swear.
butter.
I'm gonna eat after this. 'Cause I'm hungry. So yeah, I'm bet. I'm gonna put it on my Instagram story. By the way, follow me on Instagram, bro. I'm trying to push my social media a little bit. I'm a social media troll. I like to have fun with life and fitness. I've been through so much in my life. I'm trying to, I think, share my story while doing it in an entertaining way. So if it comes off, yeah, if it
Right.
comes off in a certain way, I really feel like sometimes people don't give it a chance to know that like it's somewhat of a persona. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
really feel like people don't get
I
that. Does that make
mean,
sense at all?
well, I feel like they should get it, but I think a lot of people take what they see on social media
And
as
that's
being like 100% truth.
and then I
So,
guess that's another
um,
point of my message is to show transparency, bro. Like I honestly try to be upfront and try to like show that social media is kind of fake and yeah, and
mhm.
just try to be real with things. So and in a fun, entertaining way. Again, I try to I do so much trolling. It's fun. But yeah, follow me on Instagram. Do it. Follow me. Do it.
So, just to wrap things up, are there any tips or suggestions that you want to give to any of the listeners out there, like as far as like it goes as nursing careers,
Um,
home health nursing?
And maintain your connections with people. That is by far in nursing is such a small world. When I tell you, it's I literally just job transitioned, and why I tell you it's probably the fast job transition, it's because I had a good nursing team. My nursing team was like, I literally have. I'm a big networker. When I tell you I can have another nursing job anywhere, pretty much at any hospital in Dallas right now, I can because I just have
Hmm.
friends and they're like, oh, I can get you a job. So if you have that connection, you're already going to be put ahead of anyone applying there because that person's going to be on the unit and they're going to be like, hey, I have a friend. Put their application first. You're going to be ahead of everybody. Those 15 people applying at that
Hmm.
unit, you're going to be ahead. So maintain your connections. It's very important in nursing. Very, very important. I'm sure it's important in every field, but very, like, for
Yeah.
sure, I've seen it in nursing. Like, I literally just got my last job immediately because I knew somebody. That was it. That was it.
Hmm.
Straight
Yeah.
up.
Actually, that's funny you say that because I was like, damn, he's working
Yeah.
already because we follow each
Yeah.
other on social media. So,
Even my own, yep, it
I
was
know.
that fast because I go like again, you either lay down and die or you push back. And some stuff happened in my life where I needed to change transitions very, very quickly. And when I mean I got a job literally in like less than a day, like it's because I had people, I had connections. It's that important. It really is.
That's
Hmm.
what's up. So tell everybody what you have, going on next and where they can reach you on
Yeah,
social
yeah, yeah.
media.
So
Besides eating the
I'm just
ketchup
saying,
next.
bro, catch me. So yeah, I'm actually, I started making videos on social media about 2 weeks ago. And I think I have something. I think I have a decent personality. So long story short, I try to share my life experiences in a very fun way on social media. I think I have a very good personality where I can kind of cold approach, I guess you could say. Like I can just walk up. That's how I met
Hmm.
you. Like literally, I was like, "Oh, bro, you got some nice ass
Right.
shoes," and now I'm on your podcast. Isn't that crazy?
The
I'm
first
and
one.
and it's because, but I made the effort. I was like, "Hey, bro, I see you have a
Right.
podcast. Do you need a nurse?" I put in, and oh, this is another good
Hmm.
point. I have teaching points all day. People need to realize it takes effort to maintain and develop connections with people. Does it not? I
Hmm.
thought out to you, did I not? I did. And I
Yeah.
think people are
Yeah.
just scared, bro.
Yeah.
Like, just reach out. You could say no. Who cares? You know, I was like, hey, bro, like,
Right. Yeah.
oh shit, sorry. So back to promotion. Yeah, right now, my biggest thing I think is just IG, which is Instagram. I mean, I'm sure you'll list it there. I'm kind of messing with like TikTok and Facebook a little bit. I don't know where it's going to go,
Mm-hmm.
but if I said in the past week, I said officially, I'm kind of trying to grow my social media. I don't know why. For me, it's been fun. I've met people like you. I've met such cool connections with people. I honestly think it can take me very far because even if it doesn't, I don't become some social media star or something. I'm gonna have so many connections with people just by
Mm-hmm.
having fun that it's everything
Right.
to me. So literally right now, I think even though I need to study and get my license as an NP, I have put that on hold just to have fun with social media because I'm still healing from my split too. My 15-year split was
Mm-hmm.
5 months ago, and I'm still dealing with her. God, she's crazy. Oh, hope she doesn't listen to this. But so yeah, my plan right now is to just continue to heal, just have fun with social media, meet people like you, spread love, just spread good vibes. And life's been so fun. I'm literally doing something like this, which I think is so cool. I've never done a podcast before. And it's just because I can't make this up. Guys, I met Carlos here at the gym. I was like, bro, your shoes look fly. I was like, your shoes are dope. And that was it. And I was like, yo, can I get your IG? And then now we're on podcast together.
Yeah.
That's so cool to me, man. You literally can't make it up. You
Yeah.
can't. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, no, I appreciate you having me
Yeah.
too, man. It's been cool. It's been real cool.
Yeah. This has been. It's definitely, an experience for me. Just like you said, just starting out.
Hmm.
So I appreciate you being on here, man. And I'm sure I'll see you
You need to get
around sometime
there,
soon in
bro.
the
I
gym.
haven't seen you at the gym, bro. I'm gonna call you out, guys. I see and meet everybody at the gym. I haven't seen my boy here. This guy's always looking fly. And no, hopefully I can like promote you too. I mean, you know me. I'm gonna try to spread love and try to get you, some follows and stuff. So
Yeah.
I got you, bro.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man. Well, thanks for joining me. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next
Oh,
time.
gee. All right. We out. See you. Hey, man.